Good morning, everyone, and
Morning.
I hope everyone has having a good morning. Here with Manuel at I am Mastermind Studio here in Lubbock, Texas, and today we're going to cover a few things, talk about a little bit about paradigm and what paradigm is, and how can we understand the paradigm before we want to really do about anything. We got to understand it. We got to understand what it is and how's it, where is it, and how is it created. And today we're going to talk about paradigm and what are the paradigm. I heard this word the first time at Bob Proctor's conference, and I was wondering what the paradigm is. If you want to summarize paradigm, what would you say in a very basic way? How would you describe paradigm? I know.
I say a group of habits that you picked up since you were born. Just yeah, that's what I say. Just like a group of
multiple
habits.
habits. Yeah. So those habits are coming from the ideas that you have in your subconscious mind, and those ideas came from the environment, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So when you start talking about paradigm, we're a product of how we were conditioned in our environment, and depending on where we were born, what time frame we came in, what culture we were introduced to, what language our parents speak, what social class we were. And depending on that, we start collecting information, right? We start collecting information, and those information that we collected, it became the way we're thinking about life, about success, about job, about retirement, about everything in our life. So when you start thinking about it, that's why everyone is so different, because they were experiencing certain context and certain time, and they were making that their own way of thinking. So if you start thinking about paradigm, I'm going to start with Erd Nigel. He says that whatever we plant in our subconscious mind and nourish it with repetition and emotion, one day will become a reality. So if we want to change our paradigm, we got to have a new idea, new image of what is it that we want. And in order to have that, Erd Nigel says, you have to plant that idea in your subconscious mind and nourish it with repetition and emotion, and one day it will become reality. Can you tell me an incident that you've done this? You bring something into your life or experience it that you had to keep thinking about it and keep getting emotional with it to be able to make it part of your subconscious mind, make it a part of your life. Make it part of you.
Like something I've gotten or something?
Something that you acquire in life.
Well, before I even started this, I've always been doing it, and I just never realized it. And now that I'm thinking of, now that I think about it, a lot of the stuff, I look back and and I think, like, when I always wanted something, man, I always had it. Like, it was just a strong desire. So I always kept on visioning it in my head, and I would not let it go until I got it. And I never realized that what was guiding me to getting what I wanted.
Sure.
And I never thought it, I didn't, and back then I didn't think that was really anything.
Sure. Sorry to interrupt. Zach, I'm looking at our Facebook or Instagram. I don't see our video. Okay. Do you have it? Do you see it?
Where I say somebody's watching.
Yeah. Okay. There's a delay. Yeah.
There it goes.
Yeah. All right, back to our conversation. So we're talking about paradigm and how we are conditioned to think a certain way. And basically, when you talk about how you start, if you want to know what our paradigm is, immediately, if you want a short answer, is look at your life and look at the reality that you're getting. And according to the reality that you live in, those are your paradigms that you live in, right? So in order to change it, we talked about it. So we got to bring a new idea and we got to repeat it and we got to get emotion involved with it, right? And what a lot of people, and this is a question I asked, I said, hey, what do you think is controlling your life? What do you think is controlling you? Basically, paradigm virtually controls everything in our life, right? The way we dress, the way we interact, the way we do things, the decisions we make, everything, right?
Yep.
So we're going to be good as good as our paradigm in life.
Even that little voice in your head,
Yeah,
that's your paradigm.
yeah, and that comes from where?
That I said you're from your, your subconscious mind. That's your programming. When you get that little voice telling you you can't do anything, you can't do that, or you can do this, that's your paradigm.
So those little voice that you just talked about, when you start thinking about it, they come from the way you were conditioned, right?
Yeah.
So the way you were conditioned, depending on what you went through when you were younger, the experience that you went through, right? Your performance, like how you perform. Even let's say, when you were younger, you're trying to start your business, right? You're trying to have this small business and you fail. That performance tells you, hey, you try one time and you fail, right? It tells you not to do it again, right? That's paradigm. Your experience, performance in the past, and others people's opinion about you, it's become part of who you are. And when you start thinking about something that you want to do or decision that you want to make in life, all the decision that you make every day, where do you go back and think from? From that place.
Yeah,
From limitation, right?
Yeah.
So what was very interesting to me when I met Bob Proctor, he said, before you start thinking about or really thinking about whether you want something or not, what you need to do, you need to decide. And deciding here meaning that I'm committed to go after what I want, regardless whether I think I'm able, whether I think I have enough resources, whether I think I have the assistant. Because when you start thinking about how, it will limit you, right?
Yeah.
It's always limiting you when you're thinking about how. You'll find a way or you find something to not go after what you want.
Yep. And usually it's, I don't have the money, I don't have the time, I don't have the education, all that. That'll start popping up.
And how do you change that?
You, People just need to understand that. How can I explain it? How I've done it, I never let that set me back. Somehow or another, I'm gonna find a way to do it, and that's what's always pushed me to get what I want. Even though I didn't have the money, I didn't have the time. I just held that image that I wanted, and all the things started just coming to me. All the like opportunities, how to
So basically, you never give up.
Yeah,
So the
exactly.
key is when you say I'm going to figure it out is not giving up, because when we don't give up, where is our mind is like connected to this big source, and when you start thinking about what is it that you want, basically you get into that frequency that is supporting you to give you an idea how it can be done, right?
Yep.
That's what you're basically, that's
Yeah.
what we're teaching here. And the key is not thinking about how, because how will come when you start taking action. The fun part about this is whenever you don't know the how and you start taking action, you find the how on the way.
Yeah.
When I was when I start working for an oil company, before I started my own company, I started working for an oil company, and every time they asked me a question that I didn't know, I didn't say I don't know. I say, give me time, I'll figure it out. I'll find out. And I didn't have this information. I didn't know what I was doing. But I knew that if I think about it more, I'll find a way how to do it. And I did every time. Very interesting.
Yeah.
So what limits us is really, when we're talking about paradigm is in our subconscious mind. We consciously start thinking about our vision. What is it that we want, right? But what's in charge of our movements, our action, our decision, and deciding whether we can go after or not is subconscious mind. So you can't think whatever you want. I'm sure you've seen this. You talk to individual and they say, oh yeah, I want it, right? But they don't go after what they want. Why? Because the conscious way of we're thinking is not in charge of our body. Our subconscious is in charge of our body. And when we say, I want it, if it's not emotionally charged by your subconscious, you're not going to take action. You're going to go do what you need to be doing. That's why it's very important that to understand the paradigm and understand the programming, understand your subconscious mind, because in order for you to go anywhere, you got to be someone.
Yeah.
You got to change that. And changing that starts within your subconscious mind. That's why Bob Proctor introducing paradigm is huge, because paradigm basically is massive information. That is, the paradigm is massive information that is programmed into your subconscious mind, genetically and environmentally. So basically, we've been living here on this earth for a long time. I don't know, 3 million, 4 million years. And then after we're born, depending on how old are you, 20, 30, 40, you've been conditioned. But the good news is you can't change that.
Yeah.
Do what you want. You have the willpower to change it.
Yep.
As you gain a deep understanding of paradigm, it becomes obvious that logic on a conscious level and paradigm on a subconscious level shape a person's perception and literally place them in a box beyond which they cannot see without the effective use of their imagination. So when we want to think and we're thinking about our vision, what is that vision? Because if we don't have a vision, we don't have a direction.
Right.
There's two sides of us. One is always automatically running. that it's always fulfilling itself, which is our paradigm,
Yeah.
right? Our paradigms, the way we're conditioned. It's always going
No matter what.
no matter what. Until we decide and start using our higher faculties, which one of our higher faculties is imagination and reasoning. We start imagining out of our box. I'm sure you heard this, think out of the box. Think out of the box, meaning that think outside of that limitation.
Right.
So when you start using your imagination, that's what I just read. That's what read. You start using imagination, and you start holding on to that imagination, and you start seeing it.
You start getting all the ideas
Yeah.
on how to make that happen.
Right. But what's hold the individual back from not taking action on that imagination?
When they're inside the box and their program, also their beliefs, that's
Fear.
yeah,
Fear is very important, right?
Fear,
So
doubt, and worry.
the next part, when you start understanding the mind, you know, when you're consciously thinking about going somewhere new, experience something new in your life, when you're conscious thinking about it, subconscious start analyzing it. Analyzing, hey, this idea, this is not, we're not familiar with this.
What it's trying to do is trying to protect. It's protecting you.
Yeah.
It's really not designed to make you happy. And people just need to understand it. All it is just telling, it's trying to protect us, but we just need to understand that to get where we want to get to, or trying to get what we want, we need to think outside of that.
And think about that. But whenever you're wanting to bring new idea to your subconscious mind and take action on it, you have that feeling of fear, right? And what is that fear? Fear is bringing new idea in your subconscious mind, and you want to start implementing it. You want to start taking action on it.
So really, fear is a good thing.
Yeah.
People take it as a wrong way. Well,
Yeah.
I'm stepping into something that I don't know. I need to back off. But
Yeah.
that's the wrong way of thinking about it.
Yeah, if you think about it, it's basically you're about to experience and step out of your comfort zone.
That's why they say you gotta be comfortable in being uncomfortable.
Yeah, yeah. And every time you do that, you're growing because you're adding something to your way of thinking that wasn't there before.
Yeah.
But the key is taking action. Unfortunately, the paradigm has such an enormous influence over the use of person conscious faculty. If and when they use the imagination, they will generally unconsciously use it in a negative manner against themselves. How would the individual use imagination, this power that we have, to start creating, imagining, and going after what is it we truly desire? How do we use it against ourselves?
Like when you're thinking negative,
Right.
When you're thinking negative, you start thinking about the bad things instead of the good things.
Yeah.
And people just go off in a thought trip in a negative way, and that's not the right way.
Yeah.
You need to just automatically cut that off.
Yeah.
And start thinking positive.
Yeah, so we're using our imagination basically to start creating negative scenario, right, about something that has not happened. So let's say if I want to start getting that promotion, or I want to start starting a business, or I want to expand my business, I start using my imagination, thinking about negative things that about to happen. And I start, and why we do that, and we don't do that consciously, we do that subconsciously, because the way we're genetically programmed is to always look for always survive, to always look for danger, to always be careful, to always watch for rainy days, right? And when we start thinking about those and we want to be prepared, basically, our subconscious, our survival mechanism wants to be prepared, right? Yeah. So it wants to be prepared and wants to protect us. So what it does, you start imagining negative things that you don't want to happen.
Yeah. And then you start attracting that kind of stuff.
Right.
When you think about that.
Right. What happens is you start thinking about it and you get emotion involved, what you don't want to happen. And what you don't want to happen, that you're consciously, again, I said it earlier, if you pay attention, you consciously are not in charge of your life. Your subconscious is. So you consciously start thinking about, I don't want this, I don't want this, I don't want this. And you start impressing that idea, your subconscious mind, impress that idea to the way of your thinking emotionally, and you're going to put yourself in a negative vibration, and you're not going to take action. And guess what? And sometimes the things that you don't want, you're going to experience them. Not because of you. A lot of people say, well, this happened to me. I didn't want it. Yes. But the universe response is not about what you want and you don't want. It's about what you're impressing in your subconscious mind and what you keep thinking about.
Yep.
Whether you want it or not.
Yep. It's funny it's crazy how it works.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, because when you start understanding the nature and understanding subconscious mind, really, you understand the subconscious mind is neutral. It doesn't really understand whether you want it or not, whether this is good for you or not.
Yeah.
Everything is just is. And when you understand everything is just is, you won't give it something that you don't want. You start really working on the things that you want because that's what you want to see. Individual will create an image in their mind where they can see conditions and circumstances that dominant rule and becomes subservient to them. This puts them in a position that prevents them from moving forward. That's where we start imagining things that we don't want to happen. So therefore, we start projecting. Concern, we start projecting failure, we start projecting how this cannot happen, so it will dismantle us from taking action. I talk to so many young people my age, and I always talk to them and ask them, so what happened to the things that you want? What happened to that company that you want to start? What happened to that travel plan? What happened to going overseas and living there? Or whatever the dream they have, they want to live, right? They always tell me about their imagining. They're telling me about how, what if, how things can go wrong. I said, well, instead of start thinking negatively and what if, why don't you start thinking positively?
Right.
Why don't you start thinking it's possible? It can happen. Greater things are coming. Why? Because we were never conditioned to think that way. We were always living in a survival mode. To always look for something bad that is coming. Just always always trying to be prepared to encounter the issues in future. So we were always thinking what? Negative. Yep. So we could be prepared for it. It's just like if you go back and look at our ancestors, right? How they live, and this is how we got it from, how they live, they always thought about, when they were in the cave or they were in their habitat, they're always thinking about, most of the time they thought about, okay, what are we going to do? How are we going to protect ourselves when these predators attack us? How are we going to protect ourselves when these other tribes attack us? How are we going to how are you going to protect yourself when there's a flood? There was always thinking about how to survive. And that they pass it down the line.
So instead of looking for the opportunities, they're looking for negative stuff. And
Yeah.
so that's all they're seeing.
Yeah. And negative stuff is, what we call it negative, is for them, they were just trying to be prepared. That's all. Those things might never happen, but in their mind, we are prepared. And if you look at it today in corporate world, think about that. In meetings, you see them talk about the risk. They talk about the competition. They talk about what if the economy goes down or bad. What if, I don't know, this country, how is this country, the war over here is going to affect here. What are they thinking about?
All the negative stuff. It's just like when all that COVID came around, and everything was shutting down. I didn't stress nothing about that. I started looking for the opportunities where I could still stay in business and still keep working, and that year was my best year out of all the years before that. That's because everybody was shutting down.
You got so busy.
Yeah. Yep.
That's awesome.
But if I would have been thinking, oh no, I need to shut it down, if I would have been worrying or, then.
And that's the year actually you start expanding, right? Your business.
Yep.
Yeah, that's the year that I remember you bringing this big shop that you were wanting to move in, and now you have it. You're working over there. Very interesting. In order for an individual to make a shift in logic and break out of the box, in order for an individual to make a shift in logic and break out of the box to freedom, understanding, courage, and determination is required. Understanding, courage, and determination is required. This generally only happens with the assistance of a coach or mentor. On a much broader level, you can say that culture is a paradigm. Culture is really group, habit, express, and lifestyle. Paradigm are either positive or negative, or express in either positive or negative results. If a person experiences recurring negative result or if a person experiencing recurring negative result, it is important that they understand the cause of the problem does not lie with the circumstance and condition outside of them. The cause is within. It lies with their paradigms. So when we are working toward a goal, when we have a vision, when we're encountering situation or circumstance that we don't like, how do we need to look at that? Have you experienced that on your path to expanding your business? I'm sure you have.
Oh, yeah.
Multiple times.
Yeah. Yep. When I see something when something's not going the way I want it to go, I kind of I step back and try to think what I've been thinking about. What caused that, And I do that all the time. Every time something doesn't go the way I needed to go, I have to kind of step back, think about it, and figure out why did that happen, or what was I thinking about to make that happen.
So how did you, when you face an issue, you're basically saying you're understanding it, right? When we were facing something that, when we want to move, when we're making a paradigm shift, what we need to understand is the ideas are not only affecting the way we take action, but it's also affecting reality as well. So let's say you're shifting paradigm, you're going from here to somewhere new, right? The old paradigm is still show themselves in the most convenient way in your physics.
Oh, yeah.
For you to tell you, hey, it's not the time. It's not a good circumstance. It's not a good. It's not a time. You need to hold off. You need to wait. You need to wait for something. There's always something.
In every little way, your friends, your
Yeah.
family,
Yeah.
they're gonna try to come at you and tell you, no, you shouldn't be doing that. And
Right.
I had that same thing when I got my new shop, and I had my dad, my friends telling me all this negative stuff. And
Yeah.
I just,
It's a bad time to expand your business in the middle of COVID, but you still went back to your vision. That's what the individual needs to understand. When you're working within and you're going back to the vision and you are dismissing the negative thoughts, negative opinions of others, and the circumstance that are not serving you and helping you on the path, on the way, when you dismiss them, you start going back to your vision, you'll find a way to move forward. Always. I remember when I failed, my company went, I had to close my company because at that time I didn't give it that much energy. I went back to my vision. And when I went back to my vision, I started realizing I just learned a lot. That's not a failure. I learned now how to have a company.
yeah.
So I started another one. I could have sat down there and think about, I'm a failure. I can't do it. I need to go work for someone else. I would have given up. But the reason I didn't give up is because I went back to my vision, back to my goal. What do you want? Keep doing it. Keep working on it. And the way I saw it was, I just learned how to have a company. Before I didn't. This was my first time. And I moved on. Realizing your paradigm is a multitude of habits, and habits require a considerable amount of attention and discipline before they are changed. The question then becomes, which habit should we work on and how do we change it? Begin to identify the result that you want and improving your life. So the first thing we need to do is really start writing down what is it that we want to improve in our life? Which part of my life that I have lack, which part of my life I'm not happy with, which part of my life I'm not getting the result that I want to get, which part of my life it's always, the outcome is always not in my favor, because everything is within, right? Everything that we see outside, the results of the way we're thinking and who we are. So when you start identifying what is it that I want and what I want to experience, you start becoming conscious and you start understanding that. When I say conscious, I mean you start paying attention. Writing that what is it that you want to experience, those are what you want to experience in life, those are results. The cause, through the law of perpetual transmutation of energy, the cause and effect, you're seeing effect, and those effects are what you want in life as experience, right? But those are byproduct of your cause. So when you start writing down what is it that you want in life and what do you want to experience out of you, you can't do anything about what you wrote. All you got to do is what's creating that. What's creating the result that I want. If I'm not making enough money, well, why am I not making enough money? What am I doing? What service I'm providing? Am I working with law of compensation? Am I working with law of cause and effect? Am I working with law of attraction? What's causing me the way I'm thinking is creating these results? For that, you need a mentor. You need somebody that, instead of trying this and figuring this on your own, you need to go to someone that has been where you were and knows the, what do you call that, ropes?
Yeah,
Knows the ropes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But most people go to their friends or their family and that they ain't nowhere near doing what they want to do.
Yeah.
And so they hear negative stuff. So that
No, that's true. Let's talk about it. That's absolutely right. So when you want to start going somewhere different, you're gonna go ask your friends and ask your family or ask your you're gonna go ask experts. Go ask those people. They without announced to them, without them knowing that battery died, without them knowing, start giving him advice based off of the logic. So
yeah, people just go to their surroundings, to the people that are around them, and ask them what they think about doing this, doing that, and then people don't know. So me, I never. There was times I did ask, but when they told me no, that's not a good idea. I never listened to them. I stood. If I wanted to do
you
it,
were
I wanted
stubborn.
to do it. Yeah.
So think about this. When I want to start a new business or do something completely different, back in days when you talk to people and tell them your intention of what you're doing, it was amazing that everybody thinks what their way of their thinking, and they would like tell you all about the risk. Oh, you're gonna start this. Oh, do you know how many companies are out there doing that? Have you thought about your competition? Have you thought about this? It's really hard to find employee. It's really hard to find somebody to work for you and do a decent job. And have you heard that there's crashes coming? What crash? Oh, there's a crash coming. Okay. Have you heard, I mean, all the negative things in the world. Why? Not that they know, they don't know. They're just thinking how they've been taught to think. Right? We talked about risk. We changed the risk when in I Am Mastermind, we start changing the risk. Risk, if you look at the risk is exposing oneself to loss, right? We changed that. Why don't we say exposing self to gain? Right? When you start
bigger the risk, bigger the gain.
Yeah. So when you start changing that and you start understanding that, you don't go just ask your brothers or your family that you want to go somewhere new, because with their paradigm, with their limited way of thinking, the chances are that they're going to give you bad advice is high. This guy who wanted to, back in home, who wanted to start he used to work for a pizza place. And he came and started studying with us, and he came and told me, hey, after 4 months, I say, hey, I want to really start my own pizza place. I want to have my own store. I want to sell pizza. And I know that from how to get the machines, how to set it up. I run one, and I know how to do it. I was like, great, go. He goes, but I wanted to ask my brother, my parents, my family, everywhere said, oh, there's so many pizza places in this town. You're not going to even have a chance. Every corner you go, there's a pizza place. Why do you want to have a pizza? And he started telling them, hey, my pizza is going to be very special, and it's going to have this, and it's going to have this thin crust, and this and that. And nobody just said, hey, dude, those don't matter. And they're giving him wrong advice. So he was very down, and he came to me, hey, what do you think I should do? I said, you should have come and asked me in the first place, not going to making rounds and then come here. I said, hey, it's all depending on you. If you believe this is going to work out, if you have your heart in it, if you see yourself, people are coming getting pizza, they love your pizza, and they tell their friends about your pizza, do it. And now he has 2 stores in 2 different cities, yeah. And his pizza is amazing. Actually, I'm going to Iran, and I'm going to go to his pizza place, by the way.
Now you're making me hungry. I'm about to be like, oh.
So it's amazing how if he would have listened, do you know how many dreams are dead? When you think about it, how many dreams are dead when they start listening to their surroundings? They start listening to their uncle. They start listening to their best friend. And those guys, they don't have a bad intention. Again, it's just the way they're thinking. Mm-hmm. They think in limitation.
Yep.
The question, when you really start understanding our mechanism, and you really start understanding how we operate, you start changing your view toward life.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and that view is not about what can I do, right? It's not about what can I do, because you understand that you're unlimited. And there's no such a thing as if I can do it. The question will change, and you ask yourself, do I want it? So imagine if everyone really start thinking about what they want and live and trade their time and become fulfilled going after what they want. Imagine what kind of result that individual gets. Because when you go after what you want, because you're emotionally involved with it, right? You face with the problems. You'll put up with the problems, obstacles that you face. When you love something you do, your customer service is great, even if it's a bad day, right? Because you're not doing it for something outside of you. You're doing it for you. Mm-hmm. That's why people that really love what they're doing, they're really successful. And a byproduct of that is what? Money. So when we're talking about going after what you want, is understanding the proper goal setting. That's another whole conversation, how we set goals, and how do we know this goals that I'm taking or I'm going after is worthy of me? How do I know this is what I want to trade my life for? How do I know that this is what I want to spend my time? How do I know this is something that is fulfilling me? How do I know this is something that I want to do in life? Here in iMastermind, we're here to help you to experience the proper goal setting. And I'm sure you hear, I hear it a lot actually. People say, oh, I can't finish a job, or I can't finish this project. I always procrastinate. I can never complete something because they never experience proper goal setting. Right. What they're doing, they think they liked what they're doing. And when they start understanding who they are, I promise you, they're going to start changing the way they think, and they start going to changing, understanding, reevaluate themselves again. What is it that they really want in life?
Since I started this, that's one of the things that I've seen. Like, I always been in a body shop business. Mm-hmm. My dad's done it. My cousin's done it. And I always thought that was my main thing. Uh-huh. But once you start seeing how life works, uh-huh, you start seeing a whole different type of world. Yeah. And
was it there before though? Yes.
It was always there before. Yeah, yeah. We just didn't see it.
Yeah.
But now that I see it, like my shop, that's not my main thing. That's not my purpose. That's not my deal. now I've figured out what I really want, and that's helping people,
Yeah.
coaching them.
Yeah.
You know, like that's and just seeing this, it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. 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 You want to give.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah. Well, we're almost out of time. Does Zach? Does anybody have any question? If not, we're going to end this session. I want to thank everyone who listened to us this morning, and I hope you learned something very valuable today. If you have any questions, you can contact us, myself, Abraham, or I Am Mastermind Studio on www.iammastermind.com. And the world is yours. Decide today what is it that you want to experience and go after it. Don't let your past and current result hold you back from your dream life. Thank you, and have a wonderful day. Thank you, Manuel.
Thank you.